Hey guys, it's Caitlin. Welcome to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. I'm doing a 24-hour reading challenge, and I never really thought I'd get to do this without it being so detrimental to my well-being because I think I mentioned it in a past video, but I do work full-time, so there hasn't really been like a good opportunity for me to do this, but I have a 3-day weekend, so I'm doing it. I've already started. You would have seen in the last few clips that I started Faust by Goethe. I'm loving this already. I've really been wanting to read a play again because I haven't read a play since March last year when I read Julius Caesar. I'm already about 2 hours into this challenge. I have 21 hours and 47 minutes left. I started at about 9 a.m. this morning. This says I'm 173 pages into the play, but that's not really correct because that also counts the translator's introduction, and then this edition is split. So you can see one side is in German and the other side is in English. So I'm probably more around like 70 to 80 pages into this play, but I'm loving it so much. I love the language of plays. I love how poetic it is, but that it follows a story and characters and has a narrative. I didn't really know too much about Faust going into it. I didn't want to know, but I did look up like a short summary just because I didn't know how difficult this would be for me to read because there are no notes, and this was first written in the 1700s. So basically it is about our character Faust, and he's just dissatisfied with his life. He's acquired all this knowledge. He's a doctor. He knows about the law. He reads all the time. He's just a very knowledgeable person, but he feels like he has no purpose in life. And in the prologue of this play, we have God and Mephistopheles, who is serving as the devil in this play. And Mephistopheles is like, I bet you I could sway Faust. I bet you I can get him under my wing and I could take him away from you, essentially. So I've just gotten to the part where Faust and Mephistopheles meet. It's kind of funny because Faust and his, I guess, servant or assistant, I don't know the correct translation, but we have this character Wagner who is like Faust's assistant or servant. They're out and about in the town, and Faust spots this black poodle, and they end up taking him home, and Mephistopheles is the poodle. So it's just kind of funny that like that's how the devil shows up in his house. But I just got to the part where they've met, and I'm not really sure like what's gonna happen. I'm not sure what Faust is gonna do for him or like how all that is gonna go. I'm still on the first part, and this really isn't like broken up into acts. I feel like it's more just like the first part, the second part, and then scenes. So I just finished one scene and then I'm about to start another, which is with Faust and Mephistopheles. So I'm really loving this right now. I'm probably gonna finish it today. I'd be surprised if I don't, just because it's going by really quick. The language isn't as confusing as I thought, which is nice. This is translated by Walter Kaufman. I feel like this is the most popular edition in print right now because I wanted a pretty cover, and this is not giving pretty. This is giving academic. I'm really enjoying this right now. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to pick Faust up. I'm gonna go eat some lunch and then get back to reading. So I'll see you guys in a bit when I have an update. Hey guys, so I wanted to pop on and give a little reading update. Also, sorry about the lighting for probably the rest of this video. It's 5:30 now and dark. I don't have the best lighting in my house, so I'm gonna do my best, but until tomorrow morning, this is what we're working with. So I just finished Faust by Goethe. I really enjoyed this. I'm so happy I read it. This was actually one of the first books I put on my TBR when I created my Goodreads account. I think I was like 16 or 17 when I added this. So it only took about 8 years for me to pick it up and read it. But I'm so glad I did. I gave this 4 stars, so not a perfect 5 stars, but I'm so happy I read this. I feel like a lot of books I have read have referenced Faust, and there are several different, I guess, retellings or imaginations of Faust. Another popular one, which I do want to get to, is Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, but I wanted to read Goethe's Faust. I think this was like one of Napoleon's favorite plays, and I have some questions because I was really loving this. I wasn't super into Margaret / Gretchen's character or storyline or what, you know, was going on between Faust and Mephistopheles and Margaret / Gretchen. I did look it up because I didn't understand why her name changed from Margaret to Gretchen like halfway through their plot. But apparently Gretchen is short for Margaret, which I still don't understand. Maybe it makes more sense in German, but that's the only reason I could find on the internet. Yeah, I didn't love that storyline, but I do think it showed that even though Faust made this deal with the devil, he still had some good in him. He didn't want to completely tarnish Margaret / Gretchen. He went back for her. But I really became disconnected from this story towards the end of part 1 and most of part 2. I really had no idea what was going on. I was also kind of confused because there's this point where Mephistopheles and Faust, it sounds like they go to a play, and then we see a bunch of characters from Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare, and I was like, what is going on? And I really want to look into like Goethe's connection with Shakespeare, because we also had Ariel, who I think is from The Tempest. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure from The Tempest in this play as well. So I'm so interested to see the connection there. But once that scene happened, I was pretty lost. But overall, I really did like this. Good prevailed in the end. I kind of figured that was what was gonna happen just because that's usually what happens. I do recommend you read it. I feel like I always recommend classics because so much literature has been inspired by them. I think it's always so fun to read works that have been referenced in other things I've read, or to read books that some of my favorite authors have read, or plays that they watch. So I feel like I always recommend classics, but this was really good. I really need to get back into Shakespeare or just plays in general because I just love how dramatic and poetic so much of the prose is. So I still have 15 hours and 30 minutes left of this challenge. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna read next, but it is between Bleak House by Charles Dickens and The Captain's Daughter and Other Stories by Alexander Pushkin. So I haven't started this yet. This is a collection of short stories by Pushkin. I'm kind of leaning towards this, but I'm about 150 pages into Bleak House, and I kind of want to continue this just because I still have a good amount left. And I did want to mention that I did want to film and post videos the past 2 Fridays, but it just didn't happen because I was sick and then I was still sick and traveling. So I did have clips of me starting this, but they were really rough. I watched them back and I was like, there's no way I'm putting this on the internet. I am 150 pages into this. I'm loving Esther's character. She reminds me so much of Jane Eyre. But even though I'm 150 pages into this, I still feel like I don't know where the story's going, which is fine because this is about 1,000 pages. But we are at Bleak House with Mr. Jarndyce. I think there's a love story in here. I'm not sure if it goes well or not though. And then this does have a lot to do with the British legal system and the Court of Chancery. I don't really have many expectations for this. I mean, they are a bit high just because it's Dickens. This is my first Dickens. The perfect word for this book is just charming. It is so cozy, and every time I read it, I'm just sitting and enjoying it and taking it slow. So I definitely want to read some of this during this challenge, but I'm just not sure which one I'm gonna pick up right now. Since it is about 5:30, I think I'm just gonna eat dinner, take a little reading break, clean a bit, and I'll come back once I pick a book and start reading it. Guys, so a little reading update. It's been a lot of hours since my last check-in. It's currently 11:31 at night. I have 9 hours and 42 minutes left in this 24-hour reading challenge, but after this update, I'm going to bed because my bedtime is normally 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock, and I'm falling asleep. But I'm gonna wake up at maybe like 5:15, 5:30, so I can read more before this challenge ends at 9 a.m. I did want to give an update. I just finished The Captain's Daughter by Alexander Pushkin. This is actually a novella. It was around 130 pages and it took me hours and hours and hours to read. This was a really interesting story, not something that I typically read just based on the content. It really reminded me of Taras Bulba by Nikolai Gogol. There is a lot of like war and military battle related things in this story, but I didn't really mind it. Our main character in this story, I literally have to look at it because I don't know, is Peter Andreevich, and his dad sends him to be a soldier so he can gain some discipline when he's like 17 or 18, and he ends up at this fortress and he's living a pretty good life there. He falls in love with the captain's daughter, Maria Ivanovna, and battles start to happen. There is this character named, I don't know if it's Pugachev or Pugachev, but he starts a rebellion in like the time of Catherine the Great, and he wants to be the Tsar and take over Russia. So he starts invading all the fortresses. Maria, she's like lucky in that she's spared kind of like accidentally, and we follow Peter as he's trying to figure out his next steps because he's been spared by Pugachev. I don't know. I'm also so tired. So sorry. But he's spared because of something that happened in like the beginning of the story, and he's trying to find a way to save Maria. And I was honestly surprised that this had a happy ending, because in most Russian anythings that I have read, they never end happily. The only other thing I've read by Pushkin is Evgeny Onegin, which did not end happily. So based on that, I kind of thought this wasn't gonna end well, but it did, and I really enjoyed it. As I said, the content isn't something that I normally read. I don't think I'll ever be like super into battles or military things. Like, that's just not something I've ever been super interested in. Honestly, I could have done without that, but I did really like Peter's character. I liked Maria. I liked the people in it. I liked what happened. And I also haven't read like any short stories in such a long time. I've hardly read like any Pushkin, so I enjoyed reading that. But as I said, I'm going to bed and I'm gonna wake up early in the morning to keep reading. I'll either continue this or switch over to Dickens with Bleak House. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, guys. It is now just past 10 o'clock. So my reading challenge officially ended about an hour ago. And I kind of failed, I won't lie. I wanted to wake up super early this morning, and I guess I was snoozing my alarm and didn't even realize because I got out of bed at around 7:30. Literally looked at my phone and I was like, crap. By the time I got out of bed, had my breakfast, had my coffee, the reading challenge was over. So I kind of failed. I knew this challenge would be a challenge for sure. I very much love my sleep and I just couldn't pull through. But I am happy with the progress I made. As I mentioned earlier, I finished Faust and I finished The Captain's Daughter last night. I didn't get to Bleak House by Charles Dickens, but that's okay because I'll probably continue reading this today. And I am about halfway through this whole book now. So I did make some good progress. I did think I would read more than I did. I spent so long reading this, which I didn't think I would. I thought this would take me like 3 or 4 hours, but this actually took around 6 hours. This also took me a few hours too, and The Captain's Daughter was I think 132 pages. So I guess I'm a really slow reader. That is the progress that I made on my books in this video. I am starting a different reading challenge tomorrow, which I think is gonna go a lot better. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But let me know if you've tried the 24-hour reading challenge. Let me know if you've succeeded or failed. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.